Okay, so listener, you want to know about building wealth through real estate in Silicon Valley. We've got a deep dive for you based on insights from Andy Vong.
Oh, yeah.
He's got like 24 years of experience in this market.
Wow.
So we're really tapping into some expertise here.
What's interesting is that even with Silicon Valley's reputation for, high prices, there are ways to make real estate work for you,
Right.
even if you're not coming in with millions.
Right.
We'll unpack some of those strategies.
Andy starts by breaking down why real estate, particularly in this area, can be such a wealth-building engine. It's not just about buying a house.
Right.
It's about how that property can appreciate in value, how you can leverage financing, and how you can create income streams.
And that's where it gets really interesting because these factors work together. Appreciation means your property is worth more over time. Leverage lets you use borrowed money to control a more valuable asset than you could afford outright. And then rental income, that's the key to creating consistent cash flow.
Okay, I'm with you so far, but paint me a picture. What does this actually look like in Silicon Valley?
Well, Andy gives a great example. Imagine you bought a property in Palo Alto back in the early 2000s.
Okay.
That same property today would likely be worth several times what you paid for it. That's the power of long-term appreciation, especially in a high-demand market.
Wow, okay, I see what you mean. But what about leverage? It sounds a little risky using other people's money.
It can be, which is why responsible debt management is crucial. But think of it this way. Leverage lets you amplify your returns. If you put down 20% on a property, you're controlling an asset worth 5 times your initial investment. As that property appreciates, your gains are magnified.
That makes sense, but Silicon Valley is notoriously expensive. How can someone even get started in this market? Are we talking starter homes or something else entirely?
That's where Andy's strategies come in. He suggests starting smaller, maybe with a condo or townhome. These are generally more affordable and manageable,
Okay.
particularly for first-time investors. And you still benefit from appreciation.
So you're dipping your toes in the market, building some experience, and letting your initial investment grow. But then what? How do you scale up?
Well, Andy highlights this really interesting concept called house hacking. Have you heard of that?
Vaguely. Fill me in and tell me why it's relevant here.
It's brilliant, especially in an expensive market. Imagine buying a duplex or a property with an accessory dwelling unit, ADU. You live in one unit, rent out the others.
Okay.
Your tenants are essentially helping cover your mortgage.
So you're potentially living rent-free while building equity. That's amazing. I'm definitely adding house hacking to my vocabulary. But let's get real. Silicon Valley real estate has a reputation. What are some of the challenges that someone needs to be prepared for?
That's a great question, and it's where understanding the nuances of this market becomes crucial. One of the biggest challenges, of course, is the high cost of entry.
Right.
Properties here are expensive, but Andy suggests exploring options like FHA loans, which require a lower down payment than conventional loans. It can be a way to make homeownership more attainable.
That's a good tip, especially for first-time buyers.
Yeah.
But it's not just about getting in the game, it's about navigating the market right. What else should people be aware of?
Exactly. Andy also talks about market volatility. Silicon Valley real estate has shown impressive long-term growth,
Right.
but there can be short-term fluctuations. It's important to have a long-term perspective and not panic over temporary dips.
So you're saying ride the waves and trust in the overall upward trend. That makes sense, but it also sounds like you need nerves of steel. Is there anything else that makes this market particularly challenging?
Well, there's the competition. Properties in Silicon Valley tend to move quickly, so you need to be prepared to act fast when you find something you like. That's where a skilled real estate agent who understands the local market can be a huge asset.
Okay.
They can help you navigate those bidding wars and make sure your offer stands out.
Okay, so speed is key. And what about those complex California regulations we hear so much about? Are those a major hurdle?
They can be, especially for those new to California real estate. The state has specific rules regarding property development and tenant rights.
Okay.
Andy stresses the importance of either getting familiar with these regulations or working with professionals like real estate attorneys who can guide you through the complexities.
All right, so we've got the lay of the land, the potential rewards, the unique strategies, and the challenges. But I'm curious, what are some specific tactics that work well in Silicon Valley? Can we get into the nitty-gritty of actually finding and buying the right properties?
Absolutely. And that's where Andy's deep knowledge of the market really shines. He's got some specific tips that can help you identify opportunities and maximize your returns. Are you ready to dive deeper?
Let's do it. Our listeners ready to unlock those secrets, so what's next?
One of Andy's top recommendations is to look beyond the obvious hotspots like Palo Alto or Menlo Park. He suggests exploring areas like East San Jose or Morgan Hill.
So you're saying venture outside of those ultra-competitive, super expensive areas, but wouldn't the returns be lower in those less established markets?
Not necessarily.
Hmm.
These areas often offer more affordable entry points, and they can experience significant appreciation as they develop. It's about recognizing potential before it becomes widely recognized,
Okay.
which can lead to greater returns in the long run.
That's the kind of strategic thinking I'm talking about. It sounds like it requires a good understanding of local development plans and market trends. How can someone really get a handle on that kind of information?
Andy emphasizes the importance of partnering with a real estate agent who truly knows these areas, someone who can spot those up-and-coming neighborhoods and guide you towards smart investments. It's about local expertise and understanding the nuances of specific areas.
Okay, so finding the right agent is crucial. But what about those ABUs you mentioned earlier? I'm intrigued by the idea of generating extra income from my property. How does that work in Silicon Valley?
ADUs, or accessory dwelling units, are a hot topic in California right now. The state is encouraging their development to create more affordable housing options. For homeowners, this can be a goldmine. You can add a separate living space to your property, rent it out, and significantly boost your monthly income.
And on top of the income potential, isn't there a benefit to the property value itself?
You got it. Adding an ADU often increases your property's overall value, making it a win-win situation. But Andy points out that navigating the regulations and permitting process for ADUs can be tricky.
So we're back to needing that expert guidance, like maybe a contractor who specializes in ADU construction or someone who knows the ins and outs of local building codes. It sounds like building wealth in Silicon Valley isn't a solo sport. You need the right team.
Exactly. Andy also talks about the benefits of partnering with other investors, especially for larger projects. Pooling your resources can not only spread the financial risk, but also bring different skill sets and perspectives to the table.
That makes sense. It's like assembling a team of experts with a shared vision. But I'm also thinking about our listener, someone who's maybe just starting to explore this world. It can feel overwhelming, right?
Absolutely. That's why Andy emphasizes the importance of education. He recommends reading books, attending seminars, and connecting with experienced investors. There's a wealth of knowledge out there, and the more you learn, the more confident you'll be in making informed decisions.
And speaking of resources, we wouldn't be doing our job here at the Deep Dive if we didn't provide our listener with some helpful tools, Raider.
You read my mind. We've actually curated a list of articles, websites, and even a couple of podcasts that dive deeper into specific aspects of Silicon Valley real estate. We'll be sure to include links to all of these resources in the show notes.
Perfect. So whether you're just starting to explore this world or you're ready to take the plunge, we've got you covered.
Yep.
But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about market volatility. How can someone really prepare for those ups and downs? It sounds nerve-wracking. It's all about perspective. Andy reminds us that real estate is a long-term game. There will be fluctuations in the market. But if you're investing in a fundamentally sound area with strong growth potential, those dips are just part of the journey.
So don't panic and sell at the first sign of a downturn. Stay the course, trust the process, and focus on the long-term goals. It sounds like mindset is as important as the actual strategies.
You nailed it. And that brings us to one of Andy's most important pieces of advice. He encourages investors to develop a clear investment thesis.
Okay, break that down for me. What does that mean in practical terms?
It means defining your goals, understanding your risk tolerance, and identifying the specific types of properties and markets that align with your vision.
So it's not just about buying any property. It's about having a strategy, a plan, a reason behind each investment you make. It's about being intentional and making choices that support your overall financial goals.
Exactly. And Andy even suggests having an exit strategy in place. Knowing when and how you might sell a property can help you maximize your returns and avoid emotional decision-making. That's smart. It takes the guesswork out of it and provides a roadmap for the future. But I think it's important to acknowledge that real estate investing, especially in a market as dynamic as Silicon Valley, can be intimidating. There are so many factors to consider, so many potential pitfalls.
Absolutely. And Andy stresses that it's okay to start small, to test the waters, and to learn as you go. You don't have to be a seasoned pro from day one.
I love that. It's about taking that first step, building confidence, and gradually expanding your knowledge and your portfolio. It's about embracing the journey and not letting fear hold you back.
And speaking of journeys, I think it's time to bring this part of our deep dive to a close. But before we do, I want to leave our listener with something to ponder. We've talked about the why of real estate investing, the strategies, the challenges, even the mindset.
So what's the missing piece? What's the question that will really get our listener thinking?
Yeah.
Right, lay it on us. What's the big question our listeners should be asking
The
themselves?
question is this: what kind of real estate investor do you want to be?
Ooh, that's good. It goes beyond just should I invest and gets into the heart of what this journey could actually look like.
Exactly. Are you looking to build a portfolio of rental properties and create passive income? Or are you more interested in flipping houses for a profit? Do you want to focus on residential properties or maybe explore the world of commercial real estate?
So many possibilities. And I imagine the answer will guide the specific strategies and resources that are most relevant for each individual.
Precisely. Defining your investor profile can help you focus your efforts, refine your strategies, and ultimately make decisions that are aligned with your long-term goals.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like creating a roadmap for your real estate journey, one that takes into account your unique circumstances, your risk tolerance, and your ultimate vision.
And that's where the real excitement begins, right?
Mm.
Once you have a clear sense of direction, you can start taking those tangible steps towards building wealth through Silicon Valley real estate.
Absolutely. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the fundamental why of real estate investing to the specific strategies and challenges that are unique to Silicon Valley. But I think the most important takeaway is that this isn't just about numbers and transactions, it's about creating a path towards financial freedom.
I couldn't agree more. And remember, you don't have to figure it all out overnight. Start by exploring those resources we mentioned, connect with experts in the field, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask questions. The more you learn, the more empowered you'll be to make informed decisions.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, especially in a market as dynamic as Silicon Valley. And who knows, maybe someday we'll be having you on the deep dive, sharing your own success story and inspiring others to take that leap.
I'd love that. Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep building that bright financial future.
And remember, listener, all those resources we mentioned are just a click away in the show notes, so what are you waiting for? Dive in.